we are ready to party.
We'll wear this on a date.
People who are most successful are the ones who don't just give up.
Hey, how good are these to-go boxes?
Our to-go boxes, they're not good. They're f***ing amazing. How did we get started here at Albemarle Paper? Well, late 2008, my cousin John and I started this paper company, and we got all sorts of different products.
Hey, Nick, come on, man. Let's get to work.
You got cleaning products, too? You got a party this weekend? We got your back. Anything you need here at APS. Plates, napkins, silverware, table covers. We got everything covered, right, boys? What other items do we carry? Paper towels? I got it. Toilet paper? I got it. Gloves? We got you. Pizza boxes? You're probably wondering, where are we? Where's Albemarle Paper? Don't you worry about that. We got you. I'll bring the product to your door. See you guys.
Jorge Gonzalez, Top Bin 90. I am excited to announce that we have partnered up with the Graham Street Pub to host a watch party, Charlotte FC taking on St. Louis. The very first away game, we will be here at Graham Street Pub. We've got DJs, we've got fun activities, and you know it's not a Top Bin event without us giving you guys something to take home. We are going to raffle off a signed Swiderski jersey. Yes, sir, a signed Swiderski jersey. Make sure you're here before the game starts, so we will see you here.
You are here. Yes, it is time. It is back. The season is upon us. And a new episode of the MLS Corner. We had a packed house. Just like Bank of America this weekend, we got a packed house here on Top Bin 90 on MLS Corner. So we'll start it off. To my left, I guess, or right, we've got Brian. My man, how are you today?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I'm a little tired. I'm feeling that week leading up to the season. Tons of more content coming out. Lots more writing, podcasting, script writing, all of it. But I'm feeling like really, really pumped about this upcoming season. Season's about to start. Let's get it.
Love it. That's what I love to hear. My man Lee from CLTFC Fan TV. How you feeling, bro? How excited are you to have second home opener for Charlotte FC?
So excited. No, I'm stoked, man. I am stoked. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to party with everybody. You know, just here we go, man. It's season 2. We've been bitching and complaining that we were ready for it to happen and ready to go. But yeah, so if I can get rid of this sinus infection, I'll be all right.
I was kind of good, because, Argentina won the World Cup with, so, that kind of was like a good kind of distraction, as the season was coming. So.
Yeah, it's still been a long time, though, right?
Yeah, it has, actually. My man, Double T, Tyler Trent, how you feeling, bro?
I'm feeling pretty good. Got the split screen between MLS Corner and the U17 CONCACAF game.
Bro, when are you not watching the game, bro?
When you're sleeping.
Yeah. Anytime before 7 a.m. but 2 a.m. to 7 a.m., I guess I should say.
Those poor New Zealand leagues.
Yeah. Miss out on Indonesia, New Zealand sometime.
Terrible.
And then we have our very special guest tonight, the site manager for the Blazing Musket, the man that knows everything New England Revolution, Mr. Sam Minton. How are you today, man?
I mean, I'm doing good. I had to come with the Mint City kit, of course. I'm Sam Minton, so, had to cop it when I saw it. So, great kit, love it. But doing good, guys. Happy for MLS to be back.
Right. What are you looking forward to the most this season, man? Outside of this LL this weekend?
I mean, after last season, 2022, it was rough. So just putting that in the rearview mirror, really hoping for a good Rev season. It's going to be a packed one. Obviously, you got Leagues Cup. You got this playoff format that was just announced today. It's going to be wild, but just ready to put 2022 in the rearview mirror and hopefully get a much better Revolution team in 2023.
Yeah, and we'll definitely touch on that today, man. There's a lot of stuff that we want to touch on today, which very exciting. Obviously, the new MLS rules, obviously the home opener. We kind of want that knowledge of New England Revolution, what they've been doing. So we got a pretty packed show for today. But I want to start off maybe with a preseason recap for Charlotte FC. Because, compared to last season, right before we started preseason, Miguel and his infamous words of "we're screwed," right? Kind of changed the whole dynamic of Charlotte FC in the perspective of everybody going into that season. We're like, well, it was more like this season will be more about the friends that we make versus what will actually happen on the field. But it turned to be the complete opposite, right? Where, Charlotte fought till the very end and just came out short of making the playoffs, which if we had the rules last year, we would have been in the playoffs. Technically correct. We would have been a wild card. So
true statement.
So definitely. And this season so far, Charlotte FC with 5 matches, they drew LA Galaxy, they beat DC United, Vancouver Whitecaps 1-1, 3-0 defeat against Charleston, and then a 3-2.
We won. We beat Charleston.
Yeah, what did I say? Defeat, my bad.
Yeah.
3-0 win against Charleston. And a 3-2 win. I was about to say defeat again. Win against the Legion.
Ron Romero just scored.
Did he?
What?
Let's go.
It was a tap
Romero.
in, but he scored.
A goal's a goal, man. Look at Holland, the tap-in merchant.
There it is. And then I wanted to ask you guys, what do you take away so far from this preseason for Charlotte FC? I mean, we saw some interesting things as well. We saw Jan at left back. We're seeing Derek Jones play as a center back. They've also thrown in Nuno Santos on the wing. I mean, it lets you know that Latanzio is a coach that likes to experiment and likes to try things out. Let's start off with you, Brian. What have you noticed so far?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think the biggest thing to take away from the preseason in general is just compared to last year where they were like, here's the 11 players we have. These are the guys who are going to take the field. This year, it was like, here's our entire roster, and these are the positions that players are fighting to try to earn minutes and earn a starting spot. So, just the fact that there were players coming in, fighting for spots and competing with each other, I think was the biggest overall just jump from year 1 to year 2 preseason. And then on top of that, there's less trying to just get data on how the players are in their natural positions. It looked like Latanzio was just trying to collect some data and figure out what else he might have outside of just his normal lineup. Just seeing if, we get a couple injuries, can I put Jan at left back? Can I what does Nuno look like on the wing? And actually he's now looks like he's competing for a winger spot compared to where we thought he was going to be a midfielder before. So it's kind of changed. The whole dynamic has changed in just in terms of they're no longer just trying to fill 11 spots. They filled them, and now there's a bunch of players fighting for spots or trying to find other ways that they can be utilized as well. So it's just a whole new dimension as to how this team has jumped from year 1 to year 2 in preseason.
100%. I mean, obviously, I think one of the things that we also saw is that Charlotte kept clean sheet, and that was against the Charleston Battery. Lee, should we be concerned about this defensive line?
I don't think so. I mean, I believe the Charleston game, right, where we switched out. I mean, they scored right at the end against Birmingham, right? I think they just kind of got lucky. I think we kind of took our foot off the gas, if you will, right? We were just kind of trying to close it down. It's just a cheap ball over the top in the back post, right? I don't think that's anything to be concerned about, especially with some of our newer players coming in, right, too. I think we're going to be all right. I'm just looking forward to seeing Capetti, Westwood, and Carroll all linking up, man. Like some of the goals that they were getting were good, and Capetti and Carroll definitely look like they're starting to gel pretty well.
100%. And I think that's another thing I wanted to talk about. I know this weekend we saw all 3 DPs score. Karol Swiderski, Kamil Yazviak, and Enzo Capetti. And Enzo's goal was off of a set piece from Ashley Westwood. Tyler, how excited should we be our front line moving forward. I mean, you know, this time we'll Yazviak. You know, we've got on that right wing Maine and Vargas competing, both contributing, adding goals, assists.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at Westwood, Capetti, and Swiderski, you can already be excited. But if you have Uzviak and Gaines producing like he did at the end of the year last year, like that's just like ramping it up. Like if all the front five are clicking, well, I guess Westwood, the front four are clicking, Charlotte's going to be as good as anybody on their day, attacking wise. So I'm really excited. I hope Uzviak can really pull through this season because at least at the end of the season last year, Gaines just finished strong. Uzviak was kind of hit or miss depending on the game, but a lot of misses. So we'll see this year. But with Capetti and Westwood, that's already a massive boost.
And we'll go more in depth, Sam, as well. But anything interesting that you're noticing so far about their preseason?
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting one. Obviously, with the acquisition of Dave Romney, there's been some, I would say, stronger competition in the back line for, the past 2 seasons. It's been Andrew Farrell and Henry Kessler, but now it's allowed them to explore some options. They've experimented with different formations. Romney said himself that was the case as well in preseason. So it'll be interesting. In the only game we publicly got to see, we saw the Revolution kind of play in that standard 4-man back line with Henry Kessler and Dave Romney in the back, but it seems like they might have experimented with kind of that 5-man back line. You have players like DeJuan Jones and Brandon Bai who are used to, going up the flanks. So it wouldn't be surprising if that was to be explored. But especially that back line, there's been it's been strengthened. And after last season, the Revs, they blew a lot of leads and had some poor defensive play. It was much needed. So it's definitely an area that stands out. Also, too, the Revs are missing a DP, Gustavo Bo. He has been in Argentina. He was forced to basically miss this entire preseason because he was going through the green card process. Sounds like he's been able to get it, and, he's just working on getting here. But I would not expect him to be match ready for, Saturday. So that's going to be a player the Revolution do miss. Maybe he comes off the bench, but even that would be surprising. But it's been an interesting offseason with the acquisitions. You also have Latif Blessing. You got Josh Boma, Bobby Wood, another Bruce guy. So there have been some additions, but it seems like it's been more of fixing the mistakes that were made in 22 and hoping that this team will come out stronger in 2023.
100%. And speaking about stronger, I know one of the things like we touched on earlier as well, I mean, Charlotte is, after the passing of Anton Walks, unfortunately, was missing in that center back piece. And we were able to add Bill Tuiloma last week to this squad, an experienced player that I think slots right in as a starter right now. Last week I talked about this acquisition. Like, it was very important, especially with guys like Diop, guys like still like Malanda who are just young. We need more experience in that center back position. And today, Bill was actually asked about coming into Charlotte, and this is what he had to say.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't expecting this. We had little talks like about 3 months ago about this, but then it went kind of quiet. But rest in peace to Anton, and my condolences to his family. I know it was a tough loss for their family and for this club and city. But yeah, once Charlotte approached me, I was already interested in coming into this club and environment to prove myself that I'm a center back that can help this team and go into playoffs and hopefully win trophies there. And that's why I wanted to come out here, because I believe in this team and I believe in what the coach wants the game style to be on the pitch.
So some really interesting things that he said right there, right? One was that he had conversations with Charlotte FC 3 months ago, right? So based on conversations I also had with people in and out of the club, the center back position was a position they were interested in adding to. I just think it wasn't a necessary need as of right now. With the passing of Anton Walks, that accelerated that need. right? You know, because obviously one of the things that we're missing is a left back as well. I feel like going into the season, it looks like it'll be a full / Mora in that role. And another thing that preseason told us was that, you know, Nuno is going to be added as a winger in terms of what Lattanzio sees in him. And I'm kind of curious to see where he's looking to add Adam Armour as well. Is it a winger? Is it on the left, in the mid? And so some very interesting questions that are leading up to this season. But I think, like we mentioned, Bill is a very experienced player. Brian, do you see him starting this weekend?
I think it really just comes down to whether or not Lattanzio feels like he's ready. I think him being signed and for the amount of allocation money that he was traded for, I think he's an immediate starter. He's just deemed ready. I imagine he's pretty close to match fitness. It just comes down to whether or not Lattanzio feels like he's caught up to speed, team cohesiveness wise. So I think that's really all it comes down to, because he was in preseason already, right? So I think that's really what it comes down to, is just Lattanzio making that decision on whether or not it's starting this week or next week. But as soon as, I think he's a locked in starter for sure. He had a just fantastic 2022 on American Soccer analysis, or what is it? American Soccer analytics. Analysis. They do a statistic called goals added, and he was the best center back last year in goals added. So, and actually, second note, Malanda, with his limited amount of minutes, at 500 minutes or more, he had the most at that statistic. So Charlotte actually might have walked themselves into two of the best center backs playing right now, out of kind of nowhere. So, I mean, wait to see. These are advanced analytics stats, and we're gonna have to see as it moves forward and as they are cohesive together, if they are. But I mean, I think they could end up being the locked in pair for the whole season, regardless of when Corujo gets back.
100%. And I want to hear from everyone in the comments section as well. Would you start Bill this weekend? Lee, in first home over 70K people, would you throw in a defender that's never played with this club before?
I mean, he's played in the MLS, right? So I mean, it's not like it's a foreigner coming in that's come to a whole new country and that sort of thing. It's just he's basically come across the country of America itself. I would throw him in. I mean, what's our other option? Jones maybe, or Jan? I don't think Jan's ready. I think, going back to your comment about that they were talking to him about 3 months ago, does that mean that Jan's on the outskirts of maybe getting let go? Maybe he's surplus to what's needed in Charlotte, and obviously what happened to Charlotte FC around Anton, and maybe now it's Jan sticks around for another season. But yeah, I'd throw him in.
100%. I think the whole chat agrees with you. I mean, the Yeti clan says yes.
Damn right they do.
Edward says yes, start Bill. Water, SN, 100%.
Love these people, man.
Yeah, and I think, too, I don't think Jan Subocinski did himself any favors.
Especially in that Birmingham game.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's like – this was his moment to kind of prove to the club, right, that they have a center back ready to go, and it looks like he didn't do that, right? And I also think Diop is a little bit too – like, he didn't look – too green behind the ears. That's a perfect way of saying it, to actually be a guy that's going to be in and out. Like, we're going to have to just track his development.
Yeah. So, I mean, what does that mean? We play 3 in the back?
We'll see. That'd be interesting. I think we'll stick to the 4-2-3-1. But
who do you think will be left back then?
Left back, I think he goes to the full this weekend, bro. Just because
a full always puts in a good shift.
100%. And all right, moving on to our next topic. Obviously, we know MLS loves to be a league where we don't understand. Like, no matter how many times you read the MLS rules, you always have questions. People that work at clubs, I ask questions, and sometimes they don't even know. I have conversations with agents and they give me information of stuff that I'm like, bro, I don't even think you're right now. You know? So it's like, if the agents don't know and the club is unsure about stuff, what are we supposed to know? Right?
Everything.
So what did MLS do to mix things up? We've got new MLS rules for playoffs.
Dumb. It's dumb.
I love it. I love it. All right, we're gonna quickly go through these. So, been in the past, seeds 1 through 7 in the Eastern and Western Conference are automatically qualified. Right? Here's where the new stuff comes in. Seeds 8 and 9 in each conference will play a wild card game. Winner will play the number 1 seed in that first round. In that wild card round and in the first round, there will be no extra time. If a game is at level at the end of the regulation, the winner will be decided on penalty kicks. Each round 1 matchup will consist of the best of 3 series. So this is definitely I've ever seen this in any league. Each team hosts 1 game. Higher seed hosts game 3. The conference semifinal, the conference final, and the MLS Cup final will be the standard single elimination with extra time when necessary. Under the new format, we will now see 18 teams in the playoff field, along with up to twice as many potential must-win matches. And I want to hear from everybody in the comment section as well. And I'm going to start off with you, Sam. What do you make of these MLS rules?
I mean, I think it's clear. You know, you kind of see it with the Apple deal as well too. You know, it's all about the money, and I think, you know, more games, more ads. That's really all it goes down to. I thought it was really surprising to see this come out just with the amount of games, you know, players are going to be playing when you count in Leagues Cup. Now you add in this new playoff system that adds even more games. It's going to be really interesting. I would say I'm not a fan of it. It just seems to continue to devalue you know, the regular season performance. And then also too, you know, I believe it was Jeremiah Ocean from, you know, SB Nation put it out. There's possibilities. If you win those 2 games right away, you're looking at a possible 3-week layoff. And especially for the Revolution, we saw it in 2021. If you have a layoff of that amount, you can have one of the best teams in MLS get knocked out in the first round. Now, are you really giving the true top team that trophy at the end of the season? I don't know. It just seems like it adds more chaos. You know, it obviously adds more money into the pockets of MLS, but I'm not a big fan of it either. I wish they would have, you know, probably stayed with what they already had.
Yeah, and like you touched it too, like right, like MLS is an interesting league where like you can pick up form at the right time, and that could take you to an MLS Cup. And so it's all about the timing as well, right? And I mean, with this, like you're right, like if a team barely scratches into 9th after having a crap season and build some momentum, we can see them make a deep run in a playoff, right?
Yeah.
Brian, what are the positives of this new format for you? And before you go into it, I'll just read a couple of comments. You know, people like the new playoffs. The Yeti Clan says we're definitely making playoffs. You know, the problem I have is that 18 out of 29 can make the playoffs. The OFL podcast says. Preston says that these changes are ridiculous. This is hilarious. By the time you finish reading that, there will be new rules now.
Yeah, that's the comment of the night right there.
Yeah, we better make playoffs with this setup. And so, go ahead, Brian. Give us the positives of this.
So I think even though they've expanded, so like what they've done is essentially just allowed a lot more mediocrity into the playoff race.
100%.
But with the first round being a best of 3, it does, I think, a best of 3 will favor the better team a lot more than a single elimination game does. And so that first round should still trim the fat in terms of the mediocre teams more than a single elimination, if that makes sense. A single elimination tournament straight through, I mean, you could just you can get by as a mediocre team and find a way to get far. With a best out of 3, you've got to show up 2 to 3 times, and it's just way harder to do if you're a 9 seed against a 1 seed. So I think in that way, by actually having the best of 3, if you're gonna allow that many, like pretty meat. I mean, that there's going to be some bad teams in the playoffs this year. And so by having a best of 3 in the first round, you at least trim the fat. But then at the same time, you're just kind of putting in useless games. And so it's like, but that's the only positive I could really see from it, is that you still will most likely have the best teams there towards the end, which I think makes for more watchability in terms of just like high quality, competitive games, nor is the semifinals.
Comment from Ernesto where he says more teams doesn't always mean qualifying in the playoffs. Will be interesting to see how it plays out. Just look at Liga MX. They're reverting back to less playoffs team.
Yep.
It's true, right? When you add more teams, in my opinion, it lowers the quality and it lowers the standard, because, like, you know what? You could go through a 4 or 5 game loss stretch, right? And you can start being complacent because you can still make playoffs.
Yep.
And so that's something that we'll have to watch. Lee, talk to me about these the best 2 out of 3 series. Like,
I'm not a fan of it.
FIFA?
Well, I'm not a fan of it. I mean, at least if you're going to do it home and away on aggregate. I mean, like, look at Liverpool today. They lost 5-2, right? So they're going into a negative 3-0 against Real Madrid, right? So they're going to have to come out and attack. If it was a 3-game leg, right, they would only have to win that game 1-0 and then try to win the 3rd game. So I'm more in favor of a 2-game than I am a 3-game series there.
100%. The example you used was terrible, but I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it was the perfect example of why we need 2 versus 3.
Yeah.
And 3 goals is what they need, by the way.
I've been sitting here for 26 minutes waiting for that moment. Just squeak that in.
I did. I had it written down and everything.
Yeah.
On the positives, though, Ty, would more exciting so that we're seeing more home games if we make the playoffs. The reality is, you just have to make the playoffs to host a match, right?
The way I look at this, I kind of like that they're expanding, because, like, if you look at Charlotte last year, at the end of the year, Charlotte was a team that had improved since the beginning of the year, capable of beating and playing with any of the other big teams. I don't think that's a bad thing to get a team like that in. Does that always happen? I don't know. But I think Charlotte's a perfect example last year of a team that could have done well in the playoffs and had done well in the second half of the season.
Yeah, but my feeling on that is well, hell, let's just let everybody in, and wherever you finish in the tournament is where you seed, and then we do like a March Madness and just call it end of the day.
Right. And then, Sam, talk to me about this, man. There's more games coming, right, with this new playoff format. But in reality, I think the roster rules need to have some changes as well. How does that affect teams that have to play multiple tournaments with only 20 senior roster slots?
Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult. We were able to see the Seattle Sounders. They were able to do that, but I would say that they are a masterclass in how to do that. And not a lot of MLS teams are going to be able to do that. Maybe you have a Philadelphia Union who are just churning out prospects. Maybe FC Dallas continues to, develop their academy. But for the Rebs, they're in a good place. They have, a lot of young guys, Jack Paniotto, Noel Buck, Esmir Baraktarovich. But not a lot of a lot of MLS teams are in that position. When you look at Nashville, Charlotte's just starting off. You guys got your second team, so you're starting to get deeper rosters. But it's going to be really tough. There was those rumors that possibly EP would be coming up, but the MLS roster rules really make it tough to compete in all these tournaments, and it's almost like teams have to pick and choose which one they're going to take seriously and maybe which ones they're going to not go full gas on. So it's going to be really difficult. I think rosters are going to be tested out a lot. Depth is going to be extremely important this year. When it comes to League Cup, I think, when it comes to the Open Cup, it will be interesting to see how serious MLS teams take it. I think it could be a great year for USL sides to possibly make a deep run. We saw it last year. Maybe you see more USL sides making a run, but it's going to put a lot of stress on MLS rosters, the amount of games that these teams are going to be playing.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's a very important point that can't be overlooked. I think MLS in general should start gearing toward making some changes, especially they want to play more games. But if you want to play more games, you have to be competitive, right, Brian?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Actually, to add to Sam's point, I think at the end of this season, the owner meetings could be quite interesting because I feel like after some of these teams play 45, 50 games with like 20 to 25 players they're using, they're going to see both the amount of money that the league brings in from adding all these different competitions and all these games and being like, I think there could be some pretty intense debates going on between like, we need to expand our roster, the amount of money, maybe a little bit quicker. So I'm interested to see what happens at the end of this season in terms of kind of how the teams and the leagues. I'd imagine there's going to be some serious issues. I mean, some of these teams are going to be playing 50, 55 games, like, and you're going to see a fall off. And you're going to, I mean, and then like for how much longer, just in general. I mean, you saw also just with how Seattle approached. I mean, it's obviously preseason as well, but like in the Club World Cup, they just look tired there, right? CCL, they're going to keep looking tired. And if that starts to also happen, I mean, not just as preseason as an excuse or like early on in the season as an excuse, if that happens during Leagues Cup or during like the end of the MLS Cup season or MLS Cup playoffs, if you start to see this kind of like competitive fall off, I mean, there's going to be some, I mean, just major ramifications and just adjustments that have to be made like pretty quickly. Because, I mean, how long can you allow a far less competitive product that you're just trying to improve on a new platform?
100%, bro. 100. So a lot of changes coming to MLS. I mean, I think having Apple is a positive, right? It's a net positive for the league, right? These rules is going to be interesting to see. These playoff rules, how it changes the dynamic and the scope. You know, maybe it is a good, right? But like we'll have to wait and see, right? You know, so cool. Awesome. And then I want to touch a little bit more on New England Revolution, and that's why we have our man Sam here. Sam, 2 years ago, New England Revolution ended first in the East, right? Ever since Charlotte came around, they got scared and decided not to make playoffs anymore. Last year, they ended in 10th, right? Like you touched on it. You've added some interesting pieces. You've added Romney. You've added Latif Blessing, right, who we were rumored with a while back as well. Talk to me about some of the expectations for the New England and what we can see from this team this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope to see a much better team, much stronger defensively. I think when it comes to the likes of Carlos Heel, you can always expect him to perform well. Again, like I mentioned, we're going to be without Gustavo Bo, but I think Giacomo Veroni, our other DP striker, is in for a really, big season. He's looked good in the preseason. He talked about how he's basically worked the entire offseason. It's not like he took any time off. So I think he's going to be in for a big year. We've seen it with Adam Buxa and, other foreign players. It can really take a while for these foreign players to adjust to MLS. And I think just having the full off season, being able to, integrate with the team, just build that chemistry, I think it's going to pay dividends. And we're going to see a really talented Giacomo Veroni. I think a guy like Dylan Barrera, too, out on the wing will be improved. Hopefully both of those guys can stay healthy. But when it comes to expectations, this team needs to make the playoffs, especially now with the expanded playoffs. If they were to miss the playoffs, it would be an extremely big blow. I just think with the talent that you have, again, Carlos Heel, you're probably going to lose a guy like George Petrovic in the offseason, if not possibly mid-season. I would say in the offseason, just because if they got rid of him in the middle of the season's basically over. He is just absolutely amazing. It's been amazing to watch him grow. And just the fact that guys like Matt Turner, Bruce Arena, they just talk about how he's getting even better. Matt Turner said he's much better than he was when he was as young as Petrovic. So the kid's real talent. Manchester United was rumored by Tom Bogart to be scouting him. Our own Seth McCumber on the Blazing Musket reported that teams in Germany, France, Spain are all looking at him. So he's another guy who's possibly going to be gone. You have DeJuan Jones, who got U.S. men's national team looks, been rumored to go to Europe. He could probably be gone as well, too. So that window isn't as open as it used to once be. So I think the Revolution need to strike. They need to make the playoffs. And then once you get in, anything's possible. And, like it's been mentioned, Bruce Arena's talked about it a bunch. If you just get hot at the right time, you can make a deep run and you can win an MLS Cup. So if they're able to do that, they're just able to get into the playoffs. That should be the goal. That's the expectation. That's the floor for what this team should be able to do.
100%. And then Tyler, talk to us a little bit about what are some of the keys that you see in this Charlotte squad, maybe for this upcoming match against New England.
I think defending on the wing against Jones and Ba will be big. Obviously, Carlos Hill, you got to try to contain him the best you can.
I wish it was snowing so that,
Yeah, so for me, it's the offense, limiting the offensive production of Ba and Jones, and then hoping that you don't just get Carlos Hield during the middle of the game. So
nice. Perfect. I also want to touch on a little bit about our favorite people, the MLS pundits, right? So first we'll start off with the New England season prediction. Sam, most of these guys have the best position in Sasha Klestein, says you guys will finish fifth. Where do you see these predictions from the lovely MLS pundits?
I mean, I would say most of them are pretty fair. Especially Matt Doyle, David Gass. I was on the Andrew Wiebe train. I believe I said seventh, whereas my predictions, me and Tom Bogart, Andrew Wiebe, were on the right track. I think when you get to the 11th or 12s, those are a bit much. I'd say overall they're pretty fair. I think this is a team that might just squeak in, but also might get, ahead a little bit, maybe avoid those new wild card that, those playing games. But I think they're not going to be the top contenders. I think you look at teams like Cincy, you look at teams like Philadelphia Union, Orlando, who we played is a really talented squad. So I think the Revolution, they're going to be a mid-table team, not really, what those top contenders. And it really, like I said, matters just how they get into the postseason and the momentum that they're able to build. But overall, I'd say they're fair. If you look anywhere from 5 to 9, that's probably where I could see them going. If they were to be top of the Eastern Conference, that would be a very pleasant surprise. But I'd say overall, the pundits did a decent job.
100%, I guess. I don't know why I love saying 100%. 100%. And I want to hear from every Charlotte FC fan, right? The lovely MLS pundits, only 4 of them have us in. Well, hold on, because there's new playoff rules now. So I got to do recon. All right, Charles. So technically we're in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now. Have us in a playoff spot. Lee, is this fair?
Hell no, it's not fair. These guys get paid for what? For what? Just to talk shit. I mean, no, I think fifth. Fifth is about where I think we were in. 5th or 6th. Ideally I wouldn't mind us to be 4th to be guaranteed some sort of home playoff game. But, I think 5th is definitely where we're going to end up. I mean, we had a couple of games, 3 or 4 games last year. If it had gone the other way, man, we would have easily been up there. And now I feel like we've improved our team a lot. And I think that's fine. Let us be under the radar. We'll come in and surprise MLS yet again.
100%. I mean,
100%.
Also, we have 4 people 5
13.
people in 13.
No, these guys are smoking some shit, man.
Bradley Wright Phillips, Danielle, Melissa, Joseph, Sasha.
they're just playing follow the leader there.
Yeah, that's why I don't follow them on Twitter.
Right.
I'm not having that negativity around us this season.
13th. Brian, talk to me about 13th. Is this team second to last contender team?
Well, they changed the rules there too, right? Because National switched over, so it's third to last now.
Yes.
But they did, but still, I think that's a really, really brutal poll after how Charlotte showed, even with like a lack of cohesion in terms of having to switch coaches mid-season to still push through and come in 9th. I mean, mid-season pundits were saying that they were like the biggest disappointment of all of MLS to then come in 9th. I think to then drop them to 13th is definitely pretty harsh for a team that didn't lose any key pieces, added some potential new pieces, and and is maintaining overall a pretty cohesive space now. And I don't think that what that says is they just think all these other teams improved substantially more than them that were behind them last season. And I don't see that. I mean, definitely some teams improved. And I think Atlanta underperformed last year. I do think they're going to be better. I know a lot of people in the chat are probably going to hate me for saying that, but I do think they're
bad take.
Yeah, bad take. But like, I mean, even like New England was just 2 years ago was like breaking records, and then they had a fall off year too, right? So there is some like teams that definitely probably underperformed last year that are looking to do better. But I also think 13th is just really harsh for how Charlotte FC showed themselves to be and showed that they were being well coached, especially towards the end. Seemed to be very cohesive in their style of play and seemed to have found that sort of groove. And then to not lose any of those key pieces, I think is super harsh. I think also maybe that's one of the reasons why they changed the roster rules to begin with, or the MLS rules to begin with. The playoff rules was just like, look, we're getting a lot of heat from Charlotte fans. We need a couple extra playoff spots so that they can calm down.
I still think we would take. I don't know, man. I think it's BS. So you pundits out there, man, y'all need to do better.
Right, and then. Yeah, I want to hear from everybody in the comments section as well. Where do you guys think we'll actually end this season? And then from all of us here also, I'll start it off. Like you guys said, we've improved, but every other team improved as well, right? Especially teams like you mentioned, Atlanta, like New England. I think Montreal will have a little bit of a fall off this season. Right. But realistically, I see this team finishing at least 6th. Right. I feel like that's definitely now that we're up to 9th in the teams that can qualify, we can easily do 6th to 9th. I wouldn't be surprised if we finish 4th. Right. But I think asking them to finish 4th would be a stretch. Right. So we'll start off with you, Sam. Maybe give us your thoughts on where New England will finish. And maybe Charlotte, with some of the additions we've made, we've added a DP striker in Enzo Copetti. We added experience in the midfield with Ashley Westwood. Out of the last 10 games, Charlotte has only lost 1, and that was against the Red Bulls, very last game of the season.
I mean, Jorge is making a great pitch for me to put like Charlotte first. I'll give him that. Very good there. But I mean, yeah, when I think it comes. When it comes to the Revs, I think they'll probably finish around 7th. I'll stick with my prediction I gave on a shout out to Revs recap, gave that there. But when it comes to Charlotte, I don't know. Maybe I don't pay attention to you guys that much. I do like the signing of Nuno. Shout out to him. But I see you guys kind of as the 8th, 9th. I think you guys will get into the playoffs. But once that happens, anything can happen. But being spanked inside an MLS is very tough. So it'll be interesting to see. I think, just the head coaching stability, that should be a major factor that will keep you guys, competing. I think when it comes to, you mentioned Montreal, I think losing someone like Wilfred Nancy, that's going to be very big. And, don't know how their head coach will do there just with his failures in DC. But I think you guys will make the playoffs. And just to make sure that all the Revs fans still like me, I'll say you're behind the Revs in 8th.
Okay, cool. You guys finished behind us last season. Don't forget that.
Yeah. So I just want to swap it. it.
I appreciate you giving us that first win too.
You're welcome. It's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Tyler, Pierce Pierce said that you said that we would finish in 4th, but tell us how you really feel. Where is this team going to end?
Well, I convinced myself that 4th, Pierce was right. I think 4 is the top end of what we can do. Like, that's overachieving. I think realistically, like the 4 to 8 range, anything in there, anything below 8th, I think it's a failure this season. But I really, the 6, 7, 8 spots, any of those are fine with me. But as for New England, I think they were kind of quietly improved. Like, I don't think a lot of people were hopping them up over the offseason. But getting Romney in that defense, and then Latif Blessing, who if he plays anything like he did a few years ago for LAFC, that will be a massive addition for them. So I kind of feel like they're in like the 6 to 10 range too. I just think this season and every season there's so much just variability. Like a lot of teams look like they improved, a lot of teams look like they didn't, but a lot of times that means nothing when it comes to actually the points on the board. So I'll be interested to see where both of them end up this season.
Like I always say, 100%. Right. And then Lee and everybody in the comment section as well. Would Charlotte FC finishing in 4th be this team punching above their weight, or is that realistic?
Ooh. Punching above our weight. No, I don't think so, because, I mean, I think we can finish 5th, right? I mean, last season, again, we've said it, you know, we had the coach thing, we had, you know, injuries, that sort of thing. If you look when Latanzio took over, and you mentioned it too, right? We haven't lost, but the Red Bulls game, I think, was the last game we really lost. And then to carry that over into preseason as well, I mean, you can just – we're a team now, not just a collective of players, right? And you can see them starting to gel. And, you know, I think we're going to surprise a lot of people. I mean, look at Austin last year, right? Nobody really gave them any clout either. And then they took off and did all right, man. They surprised a lot of people. So, no, 4th I don't think is unrealistic. I just don't think we get there. I'm like 5th through 7th. There's no way I want us to finish 9th and make the playoffs, though. We got to at least finish like 5 to 8.
100%. You guys are getting the exclusive, like, light show behind us. Yeah. This only happens in MLS Corner. Nowhere else will you get an exclusive access to a preview of what we'll see this weekend. Look, I just saw somebody jumping off of a helicopter.
You know, this is how Jorge gets all the player leaks. He just like has his binoculars looking out that window, seeing who's on the field taking pictures.
He's actually in the elevator, like the glass elevator, right in the building across the way. Just got the fire alarm going.
Yeah, Angel says, I think Charlotte will surprise in top 5. Jaime says 4th is possible if Copetti really bangs. 5th to 8th is more likely landing spot. The 6th, 100%. Hey, everybody's saying that 100% now. 100%. A lot of rides on our defense. I have a good feeling that our midfield and forwards will do well, is what Matthew says. All right, and then I want to touch, because it looks like we're getting this question now as well. You know, Wesley mentioned that he can't get over how many players we've signed for Next Pro. Do you see anyone that you expect to make the jump to the first team in 2023? Anyone dropping down to Next Pro from the first team? When can we see the roster for Legacy so we can start leaning and supporting there, guys? Okay, so I'll touch on this one, and I want Brian, since we've both been in conversations with people that with in general. You should hear an announcement about their matches here very soon. And so I would say in the next couple of days, you'll hear something about their home games, who they're going to play. And so look forward to that. And then, Brian, I want you to touch on this as well, because it's very interesting. I mean, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, any other MLS Next Pro team paid $3 million for a player, right? I mean, for us, that's our 3rd highest signing outside of Swiderski.
100%.
100%. Outside of Swiderski and Copetti, that's Charlotte's 3rd highest signing, and it's not even going into the first one.
I think that's a record signing for a few clubs, I think, still. Like, I think that might be a record signing for a few MLS clubs. And so I think it's showing both the commitment that the Crown Legacy FC brand is trying to really promote, in terms of just being like, we're going to be a competitive team at this level as well. I think that's also why they went with their own name and own branding, is to really establish themselves as their own unit, even though they're a part of the Charlotte FC philosophy and helping build players that can play on that team. I think it sets a really high bar and expectation, and also shows that Charlotte's trying to find a creative way to use the roster rules to their advantage, because Charlotte is at a disadvantage in some ways geographically compared to like LAFC, Miami, the Galaxy, right? These clubs have an advantage in terms of just being able to draw international players abroad. And so if Charlotte can kind of find a way to be creative and draw players in, and if it's signing a young kid who's going to get some minutes at the developmental level that can then work his way up to the first team, I think that's a wise strategy for them to use that. It's sort of like they're trying to what I'm estimating and what it looks like is they're trying to sort of add extra international spots in a way by having him kind of specifically Nikolai Petkovic be on the next pro team. Although the thing is, and to answer Wesley's question, if any player is signed to a next pro deal, they can only come up to MLS on 4 short-term deals. And they're for 4 days, and you can only play in 1 MLS game. So they could bring them up on a Saturday, and then they could also play in the U.S. Open Cup game on a Tuesday or Wednesday as well. But that's
Is that
it.
for the season? That's for the season?
That's for the season. So there's they could do that for all the players down there, but they can't do it for each player. Only can do it 4 times. And so
if we got a defender and we needed a backup or something, we could only bring there's no emergency.
No, there's an emergency. That's different. So standard is 4. And then there's emergency situations as well. So if you can prove you can just show hey, look, we have this many players at this position or this many players out. Or last year when Charlotte FC had 10 players who couldn't go when they went to travel to Montreal, those kind of situations, they have other stipulations in place for that. But for the most part, there's not going to be that many players being brought up this season if they actually end up filling one of the 30 spots, and then they're kind of permanently a part of that team. And then Wesley had a second part of that question about any players dropping down. This might not be a super hot take in the chat, but I actually would kind of prefer Adam Armour getting minutes at the next pro level potentially, because he was out for an entire year last year. It looks like he could get easily buried on the depth chart a little bit, 2 or 3 deep at each position. And I would really love to see that kid get some minutes. After being out for an entire season. So that's the one name that really stands out to me specifically. Besides,
giving some confidence back too on his injury and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, man. He was out for a whole year. I still think Mora and Aful are both ahead of him at left back. Saying he's more of an attacking option. They're looking at him there, but then he's 2 or 3 back on the depth chart, at least at each winger position. Probably 4th at best, because Shinyashiki would probably still be the 3rd. So for me, actually, I think I would like to see Adam Armour potentially get minutes at the next pro team. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are going to probably get on me for that a little bit, because
that's not a bad take, really.
Huh?
That's not a bad take, really.
Okay. Sweet.
And I'd add too, just when it comes to the experience with Revolution 2, we saw a bunch of players, especially coming back from injury, go down there to get minutes. And that's the benefit of having a second team, just being able to get those minutes in a competitive atmosphere. It's different than training or whatever it may be. So, just, from hearing that now, that doesn't even sound like that much of a hot take, just to be able to build that fitness. And then also too, I did want to jump in and mention, because you guys signed someone from one of my favorite clubs, Vermont Green FC. You signed Nate Silvera. Watch out for him. Very talented goalkeeper, played up at Vermont. Love him. So hopefully he treats you guys well, but definitely a guy to keep an eye on.
Nice.
Yeah, another hot take. We let Kalina go down as well.
Hey, you guys are coming hot with those hot takes. Or
100%.
Give me 1 second. We have officially found comment of the night. The comment of the night is brought to you by Top Bin 90. And this made me laugh. Top Bin 100% minus 10. Great job, Matt. That is hilarious. Sorry.
So what's he win? What's he win, man? What's he win? This just began, so let me think about that. Sam, trying to help you out, Matt. Yeah.
Now we're gonna do a comment of the night. So that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Lee's not a Kalina fan. Yep.
I just don't think he should be a starter.
100%. 100%.
Yes, make it 200%. I just don't think he should be a starter.
I got you. Okay,
Might
and
be.
then before we get into our score predictions, there's one more question I want to answer, and we'll have you guys kind of go over your starting 11. For Sam, I want you to give us your starting 11 for the Revs. For the rest of us, we'll do a Charlotte FC one. So I'll start off with you, Lee. Your starting 11 for the 2023 Charlotte FC season. Who you got in goal?
Pablo Nakalina, yes. Probably do a full Malanda, Brian, and Tuiloma, or whatever his name is. However you pronounce that.
You started right from the get-go. Nice.
Yeah, and then I would do y'all, Josviak, obviously Westwood. I'd put Gaines out over there. And then I would throw in Carroll and then Enzo. I think that was 11, right? So I would drop Vargas and put in Gaines personally.
That's hot take. Perfect. Brian, give us your starting 11 against New England.
Yeah, so I'm basing mine off of pretty much what we saw at in their friendly against Birmingham in their last friendly. I feel like that's really close to what we're looking like. So again, that was Pablo at keeper, a full left back. I think I'm gonna go with Jones at center back, Malanda, and then Burnham right back, Bronico D mid with Westwood as his double pivot, and then Swiderski as the second striker role. Out left, I'm thinking it's gonna be. I'm gonna switch out. I'm gonna go Santos, and then I'm gonna go Capetti and Vargas.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right, Tyler, give it to us, my man.
I think we're definitely getting Pablo in goal. Left back, I think he's going to go with a full. I think Bill is going to get the start. I think Caleb mentioned that
100%.
He had a one-on-one meeting with him, basically going over what he expected for him playing that position. I think he's going to start. And then Malanda, of course, Byrne, Bronico, Westwood. I think Uzviak starts with Swiderski, Capetti, and
not a lot of at that sixth position.
No,
I think Bronico earned it, man, and that would be my 11th player.
Well, I would have had Jones at the D mid if I didn't have him at the center back. Like I think Jones is the starting D mid. But I had him. I went the other route and projected Bill not to be quite.
See, I think he sits on the bench just for the fact that in case we need to put him in the center back.
I got you. And then Sam, tell us about New England. What should we expect?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the back line, it's going to be some familiar faces. Andrew Farrell's currently dealing with a knock, so I don't think he gets a start. So obviously you got George Petrovic in net. You're going to have DeJuan Jones, Brandon Bye in the wing. I would expect Dave Romney and Henry Kessler to be the starting center backs. In the midfield, I think you're going to see Matt Polster, and I would probably say Latif Blessing kind of, in a kind of defensive midfield kind of role, especially for Matt Polster, that would be the case. Then I think you're also going to see guys like Dylan Barrero on the wing, and I think you have a chance. This might be a bold take back in Revolution land, but Jack Paniotto, young kid, was on the U19 championship team. I think he's someone who could possibly crack the starting roster just based on the fact that you might see Blessing in more of a defensive midfield role pair with Matt Polster. And then you have Nacho Heel, who's also dealing with an injury as well. So I think we might see him, the youngster, get the start. You'll obviously have Carlos Heel, controlling things in kind of the center number 10 role. And then Giacomo Veroni is going to be the lone striker up top. And hopefully you'll be able to see Brandon Bye, DeJuan Jones, just whipping in crosses into the box, and he'll be able to head it home like he did in the friendly against Orlando recently.
Gotcha. No love for McCoon?
I mean, McCoon is in an interesting existence up here in New England. It's interesting, though. It's been fun. I would say fun, but it's been interesting seeing him. Bruce has been experimenting with him at left back, which has been interesting.
We appreciate that money, by the way.
You're so welcome for that. Trust me. Hey, we got a little money back from LAFC, so it all washes out. But yeah, it's been interesting seeing how McCoon plays because we've seen him in the midfield. We've seen him at center back. Hasn't looked exactly that great, but Bruce has been playing with him at left back. We don't have a ton of depth. We have Ryan Spalding, who's there, but obviously with the DeJuan Jones European transfer rumors, we could possibly see him play left back. But yeah, as much as I love me some Christian McCoon, I don't think we see him in the starting 11, but wouldn't be surprised if he comes off the bench, so you might get to see him still.
Gotcha. Cool. Awesome. I'll give you mine really quickly. Kalina, no, I'm just kidding. Cisniega, left back, a fool. I'm struggling with Brian's route or you guys' route. Like, I definitely, all right, we'll risk it for the biscuit. 100%. We'll have Bill starting right next to Malanda. Burn at right back, even though he was training separately today. I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. At the 6, we'll see Brant Bronico, Ashley Westwood, Swiderski, and the front 3 of Carwin Vargas, Enzo Copetti, and Camille Yazviak as Charlotte FC wins. And then we'll go right here is where I want to hear from everybody that's on this live. What is the score going to be this weekend? And I'll start it off with Lee from CLTFC Fan TV. Lee, give us who's going to win this weekend.
Who do you think's going to win, man? It's 100% guaranteed it's going to be a Charlotte win. Do you want to know the score too?
Yeah, bro.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if we were ready, if we were going to let everybody else. I'm going to go 3-1. I think Carroll gets a brace and Enzo gets the third.
Nice. Tyler.
I'm also going to go 3-1.
You can't copy.
No, I'm not copying.
Quit looking at my paper.
Yeah, I was looking at your paper, but you might have influenced me a little bit.
5-2.
I think we're gonna get Gaines and we're gonna get USVX scoring, and then a Carroll penalty.
Sam, bro, save these people. What are you thinking?
Bro, okay, I'm sorry. The George Petrovic slander right here is absolutely insane. So, as much as I would love to see a bunch of goals, I don't think that would be the case. Yeah, I'm getting dumped on MLS Gone Wild. I appreciate it. But yeah, so I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I will say I do think Charlotte comes out with the victory. I'll say 2-1.
Ooh, can you say that a little louder?
Charlotte's going to win, and here's why. It's going to be a very, emotionally packed game. Even, DeJuan Jones talked about it today. Dave Romney mentioned it as well. It's going to be a packed stadium, with everything you guys have to go through, thoughts and prayers to, Anton Mox's family and, all you guys as well, too. It was wild, seeing that news, but it's going to be a wild atmosphere, emotionally packed. And I think, you guys are going to come out. I guarantee you get the first goal. I think the Revolution will strike back, and then you'll end up with the win. But I definitely think you guys – It seems like too good of a story for you guys not to win. So I'm going to give you guys the W.
So no Orlando vibes there, huh?
Sort of, yeah.
The classiest guest that we've had all season.
I know. We should send him
first
a
guest, baby. Let's go. No one's going to top it.
We should send him a mint kit.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. But you're right. I know. I definitely think, like you, Lee, and like Tyler, I think it's going to be a 3-1 win as well. Right?
Look at us.
And what I'm looking forward to the most is celebrating a goal at the bank. Right?
100%.
About 70,000 people actually get. Because last year we had the attendance record, but we didn't get the goal. If we had gotten the goal, it would have been like, woo! You know what I'm saying?
That was my practicing throwing my beers.
Forward to the most, guys. It's exciting. The season is upon us. Sam, thank you so much for coming on, man. Where can we find you?
Yeah, so definitely, make sure to find us. Find me on Twitter at Sam_Minton22. Check out all our work at the now Blazing Musket. You can follow us there at Blazing Musket. But guys, always an absolute blast talking with you. Hopefully you get a good game and entertaining, but just happy to have MLS back.
Love it, man. Guys, make sure you give them a follow. At the end of the day, it's about having fun on the field, right? And the score doesn't matter as long as we're all friends.
100%.
100%.
Tyler, my man, where can we find you at, bro?
You can find me on Twitter at ttrent4. And I got to agree with Jorge. Sam and Seth both at the Blazing Musket are awesome, and you should follow them. So,
I just saw a hilarious comment. This would have fun, but
of course, whatever. whatever. That's my hurricane scarf right there.
Oh God, Lee, where can we find you at?
I'm going to take a pause real quick though, Jorge, and say, Brian, man, you tell us your prediction, man, and tell us what you think is going to win the game.
Did I not get Brian's?
No, you were a bad host, man. You're a bad host.
Horrible.
For the crown, 4-0. It's going to be Sam took most of my takes, so it was cool. I was going to go with the emotional route. I think they're going to be just absolutely possessed, and Georgie, or it doesn't really matter who's in. I mean, they put up Daniel. It wasn't even Charlotte. Daniel Rios put up 4 on Andre Blake. So I just think it's beyond. It's like Denmark during the Euros, right? It's just beyond tactics. It's just going to be an absolutely emotionally charged atmosphere that's going to be quite unique compared to most of the other games this season. And I think it's going to be overwhelming in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I agree. So just to Alex, I would just like, can we block people from coming on the shows, man? Because I feel like Alex needs to be blocked. But yeah, I mean, you can find us at CLTFC Fan TV on other socials. We'll actually be doing a live tomorrow at 9. Sam, if you're still interested, man, you're welcome to come hang out. It's a little less formal. And so yeah, man, you can hang out with us. And with that being said, man, come find us Saturday, man. We'll be around town, and we're just ready to get the season cranking, man.
Nice. Yeah. Sorry, Brian. I got distracted with trying to figure out if they were going to do another light show.
There's 5 boxes, man. It's all over the place.
Where can we find you at?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at BAM Mauer Media. You can also find all my written content at topbin90.com. And me and Blake at MLS Gone Wild just started a new podcast. Our first episode launched on Monday. It's at Dropping Points on Twitter. Shows Dropping Points Podcast. It's an MLS Fantasy podcast. So if you're interested in MLS Fantasy, check it out. Join our league. Subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. It's also going to be on YouTube. And we got another show coming out we're recording Wednesday. Going to put it up on Thursday for Week 1 matchup. So check that out as well.
Perfect. And then someone mentioned tomorrow, Royal Yeti Clan Royal Family Champ practice tomorrow night. Come out and let's get ready for Saturday. Also, first away match we are hosting at Graham Street Pub, and we're giving away a signed Swiderski jersey. So if you join us Saturday, March the 4th, 100% chance that you could potentially win a signed Swiderski jersey.
Is that the one I saw you signing the other day?
Don't tell people.
No, the show's over, right? We did the score prediction.
With that said, everybody, thank you so much for hopping on this live. I am super excited. Can't wait to see everybody at the stadium. Boys, I gave you a light show behind me to get ready. You know what I'm saying? There's no better hype than that. So we'll see you guys over and out. Okay?